We convene today's meeting of the Illinois Board of Review for today, July 6, 2023. We will begin by introducing ourselves, board members, as well as the other panelists, after which we will request that the City of Philadelphia share with us any cases that have been resolved or continuous requests that may exist. And also I would ask that for all the appellants, please listen closely. If your address and or name is called and your matter is rendered moot and or moot complied, if you don't understand that, call the administrator's office and they will explain those to you. But if your case is listed as moot or moot compliant today, that means that for today, your matter has been taken care of. It's resolved. You don't have to remain on the hearing if you choose not to. And we prefer you call the administrator's office rather than break into the hearing because we have a lot of cases to dispose of today. So we'd appreciate your cooperation in that fashion. Thank you. Again, I'm Kenneth Woodson, Board Chair.
Ralph Pincus, Board Member.
Steve Pettit, Board Member.
Beverly Penn, Board Member.
Brian McSherry, Board Counsel.
Mr. Wade.
Richard Wade, Board Administrator.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, for everyone's information, this hearing is being recorded both by Zoom as well as a court reporter. So we ask that you not speak over someone else. Each individual will be given an appropriate amount of time to speak. And the court reporter cannot record multiple voices at once, only one person at a time. And so if that occurs, we will cut you off or put you on mute. So we just want you to know that. We need to get through these as quickly and as efficiently as we can. Okay, who will be representing the law department, sharing with us matters that have been resolved or requests for continuances, etc.
Good afternoon, Amy Skiles on behalf of the law department.
Good afternoon, Ms. Skiles. What do you have for us?
Okay, so beginning with number 1, HA 2022-00-4684 at 2901 North 27th Street. The appellant is 2901 Anthony Inc. This is a joint continuance request. Some of the appeal or some of the tickets that will be before the board are still on appeal before the Court of Common Pleas. The appeal hearing has been heard. We're just waiting for a decision from the judge. So we would be jointly requesting a continuance for the Court of Common Pleas decision.
Okay, is anyone here representing the appellant in this matter?
Yes, John McCreish, Chairman.
Okay.
I represent the appellant. We went in front of the Common Pleas on June 29th, so last week. So we should have a decision soon, and that might make this matter moot, and then I'll withdraw it. Or if we win in the Common Pleas, then I guess we'll address this.
Okay.
In the next hearing.
Okay, so based on that joint request, we will continue this matter.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. May I be excused?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks. Moving on to number 3 on the list, HA 2023-000725-5819 Rising Sun Avenue. The appellant is DBK 88 Inc. There was a continuance request made by the appellant and the city does not oppose that request.
So continuance, okay, not a withdrawal, but a continuance.
Yes, continuance.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Woodson. My name is Dave Chandler. I'm an attorney with the Beck Law Firm, and we just were hired to represent the appellant because their former attorney had to leave the case. So we requested the continuance, and we're grateful to Ms. Skiles for not opposing it.
Okay. Would you, sir, put your name and et cetera on the record, please? Sure.
My name is David Chandler, Chandler, and I'm an attorney with the Beck Law Firm. That's BAIK, and we're in Philadelphia.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We will continue this matter.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. All ready?
Yes. Moving on to case number 4, HA 2022-003981 at 3627 Almond Street. The appellant is R.R. Pucci and Associates. This has, there's been a resolution reached, a settlement, a written settlement agreement was forwarded to the board. And that settlement, that resolution is for a city affirm with a $500 fine.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will read into the record. Just one moment, please. Appeal number HA-2022-003981, 3627 Almond Street, city affirm per agreement between the parties with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement between the parties, $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement by the parties with 500.
Ms. Penn's audio went out, but I just want to confirm that she said she
I'm
affirmed the
sorry,
previous
can you
vote.
hear me?
Uh,
Yes, can you hear me now, Mr. Chairman?
yes, yes.
Okay, I see I'm getting a message that my internet's not stable. I'll address that right away. City
Okay.
affirmed with per agreement with $500 fine.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Moving on to case number 5, HA 2022-003999 at 615 Queen Street. The appellant is Max Silver, doing business as Independence Construction. There was a continuance request made by the appellant, and the city does not oppose.
okay, thank you. Is there anyone here representing that appellant? No, okay, we will continue that matter.
Thank you. Moving on to case number 6, HA 2022-004001 at 617 Queen Street. The appellant is Max Silver, doing business as Independence Construction. The same continuance has been made on behalf of the appellant, and the city does not oppose.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue that matter as well.
And my final matter, case number 20, HA 2023-000379 at 749 East Allegheny Avenue. The appellant is Marcus Santos. That matter is moot complied.
Moot complied? Thank you
Yes.
very much. Okay, the board does have a question regarding number 3, HA-2023-000725 at 5819 Rising Sun Avenue. The appellant is DBK 88 Inc. Is there anyone here representing that appellant today?
We
And-
put, there was someone here.
Chandler.
Yes. Mr. Chandler was here. He was recently retained as counsel, and that was given a continuance request, and the city did not oppose due to him being recently hired.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think your question is with respect to number 2,
Oh, number 2?
Yes.
Okay.
where we, I believe in the
My
email.
apologies,
sent-
yes. You're right,
I believe-
absolutely. It's so let me correct the record. It's regarding HA-2023-000724 6100 Torresdale Avenue, Joe's Mini Market. Is anyone here representing that appellant? And I'm asking because the attorney of record is the same as number 4. No, it's number 3. And so don't know if Mr. Chandler has also been retained by that appellant.
I asked Mr. I would be handling both of these matters for the city today. I did ask Mr. Chandler if he was retained for that matter. He was not. I did make outreach to the phone number and the email that I have for Joe's Mini Market today, and I haven't heard anything back from the appellant.
Okay. Well, what is your preference? You want to continue it, or given the nature of the legal representation issue, or take another action?
I mean, I would be asking for a city affirm for failure to appear. I know that, I mean, I have personally made outreach to the appellant, and they're not here today. So I would be asking for a city affirm for failure to appear.
Okay, you've made outreach directly to the appellant as well as the.
Yes, once
previous counsel?
the counsel of record indicated he indicated in an email to me this morning to reach out directly to the appellant. So I did make outreach to them today.
Oh, you made outreach to them today. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's do this. Given the nature of this, and my preference would be for the board would be to continue it.
Okay.
Given the nature of the legal representation that we don't need to put on the record.
Yes.
Okay.
No objection to that.
Okay, so we'll continue this matter. Okay, thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we will then proceed to the list. Now, these next group of cases are all, there are several different addresses, but all around the same matter. And Ms. Giles, who's representing the city on the next block?
Mr. Cohen will be representing the city.
Okay, Mr. Cohen.
Good afternoon,
Okay.
members of the board. Jeffrey Cohen
Good
for the city.
Okay, Mr. Cohen, before we go through and read all these addresses and appeal numbers, are there any that deserve any separate consideration that we should carve out before we start?
I was actually going to do it in the reverse order. I think the city would reserve arguments with respect to 3 cases that were extremely untimely filed, as in all of the cases were untimely filed because of the 5-day requirement for unsafe matters.
Okay.
These 3 cases were over 30 days, actually in some cases over 100 days. And then
Okay.
there were 3 cases where there's an issue with standing, where the appellant is not the owner of the property and doesn't have an apparent interest in the disputed issue, but the city would preserve those for later
Okay.
and move ahead instead with the case in chief over the responsibility for the wall.
Okay, let's do this. Mr. Wade, would you read them all in sequence, please? And
Sure.
we'll get them all on the record. And then, Mr. Cohen, we will hear the matters in the order that you recommended.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
excuse me, if I may, been having some issues with Verizon in our community here. So we were just on the line, they were able to get me up and running, but apparently the screen is not up here and running, but I just wanted to note that. That's why my appearance there. I'm working on this end and I'm just getting a pop-up from Verizon telling me that the issue should be resolved within 5 minutes. So
okay. So in the meantime, would you mind putting your name and introducing yourself on the record, please?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Roger S. Tennant, Senior Board Member.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tennant will be participating, but you won't see his image until later in the proceedings. Okay, thank you very much. So Mr. Wade?
Start with case number 7, hearing appeal ending in 5664-402 West Welland Street, Donald Kohler.
Okay, well, what I'd ask is that if anyone present, if the address is called and you're present, just say here. Identify yourself as being the owner and or a person connected to the address. No need to make a speech, just let us know that you're here. Okay? Thank you. So Mr. Wade, you may need to unmute everyone so they can do that.
Jamie, you can unmute everyone, please. Case number 8, hearing appeal ending 5437-404 West Welland Street. Thad Bobasis.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Case number 9, hearing appeal ending 0331-416 West Welland Street. Anchor Realty NE. Case number 10, hearing appeal ending in 5656-428 West Welland Street. Matthew King.
Here.
Case
you.
number 11.
Excuse me, Mr. Wade, did someone respond on case number 7 for 402 West Welland Street?
No.
I've yet to say, and I don't see anyone in the waiting room there's no one in the waiting room unidentified, and that name is
Thank you.
not populated. Case number 11, hearing appeal ending in 5423-432 West Welland Street. Dolores Hernandez Foster.
Sorry, you may be on mute.
They were on earlier in the call, and I do see them in the hearing.
Okay, they're muted, but they're here. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Case number 12, hearing appeal ending in 5342-436 West Welland Street. Walda Torres.
I see a name. Yes.
Yes.
if they could unmute, I just want them to be able to put their names to acknowledge. So if you could unmute them, please.
I am trying to.
We can note for the record that Ms. Torres appears to be speaking at the moment, but just is muted.
Yes. We have some technical difficulties, I guess.
And she's
She's not
waiting.
accepting the unmute.
Okay, I tell you what we'll do. We see you. Let's proceed. In the meantime, Mr. Morero, if you could unmute everyone else.
Everyone has the ability to unmute right now.
Okay, thank you.
Case number 13, hearing appeal ending in 5424, 438 West Welland Street, Percy St. George.
Percy St. George here.
Thank you.
Case number 14, hearing appeal ending in 5519, 440 West Welland Street, Thiglot, Borenstein.
Okay, no one. Okay, let's keep moving.
And I see no one unidentified. Case number 16, hearing appeal ending in 1401, 442 West Welland Street, Drew DeMarco. I don't see anyone present.
Okay, now also you skipped over number 15.
I did skip over 15.
Yes.
Apologies. Case number 15, hearing appeal ending in 5517, 444 West Welland Street, Siglot, Borenstein.
Okay,
Case number 17, hearing appeal ending in 0465, 446 West Welland Street, Daniel Varon and Yvonne Muscat.
Yes. We are here.
We are here.
thank you.
Case number 18, hearing appeal ending in 5486, 448 West Welland Street, Yan Huang.
Okay,
Case number 19, hearing appeal ending in 5536, 5237 North Fish Street, Raymond Tran.
okay,
Yes, my name is Ashton Stiles. I came in as representation for Ray, not an attorney, just his assistant.
okay. He has to be here himself. Will be represented by counsel, so you won't be to represent him. But we will note that, so he is not present.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. If he's available, you should let him know that he has to show up. But you will not be allowed to represent his interests. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Cohen,
Of course.
please,
if we
we'd like
could-
to hear from you regarding these carve-outs.
Thank you. If we could get Supervisor Thomas Rybakowski of L&I on the mic and on camera.
Okay,
And actually, while we're doing that, if I could go over the law, in one of the city's packets that it had previously sent out and emailed to as many of the appellants as possible, we included some portions of the applicable law. I think it would be good to go over those at the outset.
okay,
If I could please share my screen.
yes. Oh, Mr. Cohen, before you do that, I was
sorry.
remiss in asking, does anyone have counsel representing their interests today? Are there any attorneys that have been retained for the purposes of this hearing today? Hearing none. Okay, all right. Go on.
In the city's packet, starting with Exhibit V5 in the violation packet on page 14. Specifically, this is part of the state's law on retaining walls and alleyways, etc. In a city of the first class, which Philadelphia is a city of the first class, herein highlighting the Department of Public Works is empowered to abate nuisances, for instance, collapsed retaining walls, for if there was neglect or refusal of the registered owners of the properties abutting on that retaining wall or having the use of that retaining wall. The city is permitted to abate that nuisance within 60 days of service of the notice, notwithstanding the appeals that have been filed today. So essentially what that is setting up is that anyone who uses that wall or that alleyway that abuts the wall, they have the responsibility for maintenance of that wall, or else the city will come in and do that for them. The next section on the next page, 15, fleshes out exactly what that means. The Department of Public Works is empowered to charge the costs of those repairs to those owners in proportion with the width of their properties abutting on the retaining wall or having use thereof in their deeds or otherwise. And actually, the city, through the Department of Public Works, is empowered to appoint a surveyor to determine who are the people or who are the landowners who have the responsibility for that alleyway or wall. And that, just to clarify, on page 16, the Department of Public Works has had its responsibilities split up between the Department of Streets and the Department of L&I. So later, when the city shows as parts of its exhibits, the Streets Department determination of responsibility, that's part of the responsibility transferred by law to streets. And Supervisor Rybakowski is here to speak to the responsibilities transferred to L&I. And with that, the city would call Supervisor Thomas Rybakowski.
Okay, just one moment. Okay, thank you. Mr. Rybakowski,
Yes, sir.
would you raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down.
Supervisor, if you could please tell the board how long you've worked for L&I and in what capacity.
I have been employed by the City of Philadelphia Department of License and Inspection since 2014. I am currently the Construction Compliance Supervisor assigned to Contractual Services Unit or Emergency Response.
And does the Contractual Services Unit handle retaining walls and collapses there too?
My unit is responsible for declaring properties either unsafe or eminently dangerous, and then inspecting the permit to either repair or demolish the properties which have received those violations.
And through the course of your duties, have you reviewed the violations that were issued for the properties or the swath of properties from 402 West Welland Street to 448 West Wellands, and also on the small jutting portion of North 5th Street on the 5200 block that also abuts that alleyway?
Yes.
I'm going to just jump to page 2 in the packet. Supervisor, if you can tell us, this is pre-marked as Exhibit V1. What are these photographs?
These are photographs that were taken of the subject premise. Basically, what you have is a retaining wall that is in the rear of the properties along West Welland Street that has collapsed into the common alleyway. This retaining wall is at the rear of the properties on Wellands, and it is at the rear of North Lawrence Street for the properties.
And are these photographs something that L&I keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
And were these taken by an inspector who was there on site to do an inspection per their duties?
Yes.
So this section of wall right here at the bottom of the photograph on page 2, what can you tell us about that?
That is the section of the concrete, basically, or the remnants of the wall that's fallen over into the common alleyway at the rear of the properties on West Wellands.
And about what's the difference in height between the alleyway that you see on the left and the pavement that you see on the right?
There's about 3 to 4 feet.
Rough guess, how much weight or how much pressure would the pavement that's on the right put on the retaining wall?
I wouldn't know the amount of pressure, but it's the rear of the North Lawrence Street, and because it's a dead end, you also have vehicles that park up there.
Actually, I was about to ask about that next. Going down to page 3 in the packet, what do you see right there in the upper right-hand corner of that photo?
Those are vehicles.
What are they doing?
They're parked at the end of North Lawrence Street at the dead end portion of this block.
And what, if anything, in this photo on page 3, can you tell us about the exposed portion of earth and concrete that we see where the wall is collapsed?
That's the section of grade that is exposed due to the collapse of the retaining wall.
In this photograph, what is holding back that grade?
Nothing.
And let's skip ahead a couple of photographs. Here we go. Starting on page 6 in the packet, what are these photographs?
These are photographs that I took of the premise yesterday.
And are they something that you would save in LNI system in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, they were in preparation for today's hearing.
And are these part of your duties to take these photographs?
Yes.
Can you show us what's depicted here on page 6?
This is a photograph of the block of North Lawrence Street that dead ends into the rear or the retaining wall, which is neighboring the rear alleys that are connecting the properties on Wellens and North 5th Street.
And I'm actually going to scroll down here to page 8. What can you tell us about what's depicted in this photo?
So what you have is you have the north end or the dead end of North Lawrence Street. I took the photograph to illustrate that it is the rear end of the street at North Lawrence, showing where the area of concern is.
And still today, there are cars putting pressure and weight at the top of the grade where there is that exposed piece.
Yes.
And what, if anything, is depicted in this photo on page 9?
You still have the collapsed section of the retaining wall. The portion of concrete has been removed, but the wall itself is still out of plumb, and the area is still unsafe.
Well, you mentioned out of plumb. I'm going to go to the next photograph on page 10. What can you tell us about this section of wall here to the left of the exposed portion?
That the wall is still out of plumb. Basically, it's not straight.
Does it appear to be pushed over a little bit?
Yes.
Is that a concern for LNI?
Yes.
Can you explain why?
Just that the wall is out of plumb. It already suffered a structural defect in that it collapsed. A portion of it collapsed, and we could have another collapse of another section.
And here in the gap where that section of wall had fallen down and was since removed, is there anything holding back the grade in that section of wall?
Just the remnants of the wall, or the where it's been removed. No.
I'm going to go to the next page, page 11. What is this diagram that I'm showing on screen?
Mr. Cohen, could you magnify that a bit, please?
Yes. I'll magnify it in a bit. I just want the supervisor to explain what it is first.
Okay.
This was a document that was included in the right of determination or the survey prepared by the city's survey department. We asked for a survey to be done by the streets department. They came out, survey division went out to the location and prepared a duties or a determination letter for all the properties that were to be cited as having a responsibility for this wall.
And just to zoom in on this particular portion here, was this created by and stamped by a surveyor working for the City Department of Streets?
Yes.
Let's take a look here, starting.
If I may, can you tell us go back to where the seal is and tell us the date? There it is, June 21st, 2021. Is that correct? That's the date when the survey was done?
Yes, there's also a determination letter.
And we'll get to the determination letter in a minute. I just want to start on the survey. Actually, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go down one page to page 12, where the city has added highlighting. So the highlighting is not in the original document. But supervisor, if we can start on the easternmost side, and then we'll work our way west. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the common easement or the common alleyway behind the properties on West Wellens Street.
So this is the 3-foot wide alley that's highlighted in yellow?
Correct.
What does it mean, these these notations here for the 400, for 402, 404, which I presume are the parcels on the West Welland side.
So those are the address number. The parcel number would be is typically a longer series of numbers, but those would be the address marker numbers.
And we also see the names of some of the appellants here, like Donald Kohler, 402 West Wellands, Saeed Boops is 404 West Wellands. Is that correct?
At that time, then they might have added their whoever was the responsible owner at that time when this was prepared. Yes.
So let's continue a little bit going westward in this document. What do we see here behind 432 West Wellands?
432 West Wellands is approximately where the wall has the structural issue, and that is the dead end of North Lawrence Street.
And is that approximately where this red highlight is in the document?
Yes.
And now let's go a little bit further west to where the alleyway turns. Do you see this?
Yes.
What's the significance of the alleyway turning and going to West Welland Street?
The alleyway or common easement adjuts or runs parallel to 448 or the along the side of 448 North Welland, but it also runs parallel to the back of the properties on North 5th Street. And in the determination letter, that's those other properties that were also cited as having a responsibility for the wall.
And just to note for the board, up here for 5212 Lawrence Street, do you see where it says no rights or use of alley mentioned in deeds?
Yes.
What does that indicate?
That indicates that the surveyor in their determination indicated that there is no responsibility for those owners for the repair of the wall.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to go down to.
If I may, could Mr. Cohen, when you said that phrase says no rights or could you enlarge that one more time, please?
Yes.
No rights or use of alley mentioned in deeds. That's referencing the properties that are on Welland Street. That has nothing to do with the I'm sorry, yeah, not Welland Street, but
Lawrence Street.
Lawrence Street. That doesn't relate to the Welland Street properties. Is that correct? No rights or use of alley mentioned in deeds. That's the deed that's noted there as with the number 5212 and 5210. Is that what that's referring to? It's not referring to the Welland Street's properties. Or is it? Maybe Mr. Rybakowski can.
I was just going to ask Mr. Pincus, is that directed towards me? Yes, those markings for 5212, 5210, those are properties that are on North Lawrence, and the notation is no rights or use of alley mentioned in deeds is written on 5212 North Lawrence.
Thank you.
Mr. Rybakowski, while we're on this section of the map, the property line for 5212, does that end at the face of the retaining wall or on the top of the retaining wall? I'm just trying to get a sense of where does the property lines end. For instance, the Welland Street properties, do they come all the way back to conclude the total width of the property of the retaining wall?
If the property line was behind or in the middle of that retaining wall, then the survey department would have written it or detailed that in their determination. So I can only go with what the determination letter was, and that they did not mark any of the properties on North Lawrence as responsible for the repair.
Okay, so that line, that solid and well, not a solid line, but that line that separates the North Lawrence Street property from the rear of Welland Street's property is on the other side of the wall. I guess that's meaning the side of the wall that's closest to 5212.
Correct.
Okay.
And actually with that, let's proceed to the determination of responsibility, which I think will address a lot of these questions in the first instance.
I have one question. Excuse me, Mr. Cohen, if I may.
Sorry. Yes,
Mr. Lewakowski, I just want to know, has the fire hydrant that was in the photos, is that being affected in any way now, or will it be affected going forward that we may know of? Just concerned, it's sitting right there.
As I'm not part of the water department, so we wouldn't run a test on the fire hydrant itself. I can only go that if the wall failed further and we did have a collapse, yes, there is plumbing and a water supply under there. So I would say that could possibly be affected in the future.
Okay, thank you. I was aware that you're not part of water, but you answered just what I wanted to hear. Thank you. How it affects you. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Rebekowski, what is this document pre-labeled as Exhibit V4 on page 13 that I'm currently showing you?
This is the determination letter that was prepared by the surveyor in response to a request for the dead end block of 5200 North or 5200 block of Lawrence Street. The date of the survey is July 8th of 2021, and it is the alley wall determination of responsibility prepared by the 5th Survey District for this area.
And is repairing this responsibility or determination of responsibility part of the duties of that surveyor?
Yes.
And does the city keep this type of document in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
Specifically, again, the highlights in the document are not in the original, but specifically, what is the alleyway as described by the surveyor that's at issue here?
Description: a physical 3-foot wide alley exists at the rear of the parcels from front 400 through 448 Welland Street, and communicates with a second 3-foot wide alley in the rear of 5233 through 5239 North 5th Street, which extends to Welland Street according to referenced plans and deeds.
And is communicates just a fancy way of saying the alleyway turns?
Yes.
So to put together this determination of responsibility, did the surveyor look at the actual deeds at issue?
They looked at the deeds. They also looked at the plan, which was the earlier document in the exhibit.
And what, if anything, did the surveyor determine after looking at these documents?
The determination that was ruled was in accordance with the provisions of the Act of July 11th, 1923, and in review of the facts in this case, and it is my opinion that the properties located at 400 through 448 Welland Street and 5233 through 39 North 5th Street mentioned on the aforementioned plans and deeds share the responsibility of the cost of the wall repair, as they are the parties to benefit from the use of said 3-foot alleyway.
And just for the board and the appellant's knowledge, the immediate next page is the Act of July 11th, 1923. You can see that down there in the credits, July 11th, 1923. And when it says up here, benefiting from the use of said 3-foot wide alley, you can actually see similar language here, having the use or actually using such alley in the statute itself. Is there anything else you'd like to add about what CSU's or L&I's plans are for addressing the retaining wall should the owners adjacent to the retaining wall fail to act?
So as far as the department is abatement by the department would be, we would block off the end of the street to prevent parking. But other than that, the department does not do abatement of retaining walls. That would be something that the owners could reach out to their elected officials and see if there is a program for development of retaining walls. But as far as the department is responsible, is we would block it off with a barricade and prevent the parking or pedestrian traffic from using that area.
And ultimately, if the city were to require that someone fix the retaining wall, or to put this, for instance, in a court action, trying to enforce these violations against the responsible parties, who would those parties be?
Ultimately, if the department saw it fit and did seek that line of enforcement, the department would serve notice to the properties at 400 through 448 Wellens Street, and also the properties at 5233 through 5239 North Fifth Street.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. I have no further questions on direct. I would reserve a bit for redirect if necessary. And
Okay.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, before we do that, Mr. Brevakowski, are any other sections of the wall deteriorating as much as this section that you were noted in the photographs?
No, this area is the section that's most likely or most out of plumb.
And now, is from your perspective, the repair required would be only to that section, not the whole wall?
Well, it would have to be designed by an engineer. So an engineer would have to go out, take a look at the retaining wall in its entirety and come up with a repair plan for that, in that it does require removal of earth and how far back, and a means and method on making the repair.
Yeah, okay, sure. Now, what I'd like to do, because we do have a number of homeowners who are on the record, and we've listed who responded, and I will give each one of you an opportunity to, if you'd like, to ask a question. If you don't have a question, you don't need to ask it. And please, if someone else has asked a question that you have, let that one person suffice, okay? No, we don't want anybody repeating the same questions over again.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have a question or two for Mr. Rybakowski.
Yes, please.
The report from the surveyor regulator makes a conclusion that the wall is for the benefit of the Welland Street and Fifth Street property owners. But I assume, and I guess the question is, was any research done of the deeds for all of these properties? And if so, I would assume that if that research was done, it would state it on the survey district whether or not the legal ownership or alleyway, there's always, at least in my experience, something in a document saying that this is the responsibility of the abutting owners, or it's owned, or it's part of the properties. But it would appear from the survey that was presented to us that the property lines on the Welland Street end where on the alley, and there's no declaration that's referenced in the survey report with respect to the responsibility for that alleyway. Did I
actually, board member, if I could address this, and I'll put the determination of responsibility back on screen. The determination of responsibility actually mentions in two places that the alleyway and the use of the alleyway was determined according to referenced plans and deeds. So that's here in the first sentence. And then in the determination where it determines that these properties are responsible for the maintenance of this alleyway and retaining wall, these properties are mentioned on the aforementioned plans and deeds as sharing the responsibility. So it does mention twice that it is referring to the deeds and to the survey plans in determining who is responsible or who has use of this alleyway.
If you could keep the map up, scroll up to the map again, if you would, Mr. Cohen. Yeah, that. Now, Ms. Pincus, does this help at all in terms of responding to your inquiry?
Well, I guess the survey map doesn't provide the specificity that's in the statement that Mr. Cohen read from. Is that correct?
That's correct, but you can infer, because here at 5212 North Lawrence and across the street, the properties at the southern end of the alleyway, it specifically mentions no rights or use of alley mentioned in deeds. But then all of the other properties abutting the alleyway, it mentions N-F and then the owner's name. So I infer from that it is the owners who are mentioned N-F, that they have the use or responsibility for that alleyway, and everyone mentioned specifically that they have no rights or use are noted here on the survey.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question of Mr. Rybakowski?
Sure, please.
Mr. Rybakowski, in the photographs that Mr. Cohen showed, I thought that I saw a stairwell going down from Lauren, I think that's Warren Street or Lauren, yes, right there. Is that a stairwell from the
Yes.
end of that street going down into the alleyway?
Yes, Ms. Penn. There is a stairwell. There is approximately 3 or 4 steps that leads you from the dead end of North Lawrence into the common alleyway behind the properties on Wellens.
So I am assuming that when the wall was constructed, those stairs were put in for the benefit of the properties on Warren Street as much, I mean, to access the alleyway. Is that not a reasonable assumption?
I would assume that if you look at the photograph that's before this, if you look at the photograph, there's a sidewalk that runs along the properties on North Wellens. This staircase is a continuation of that sidewalk that leads you down into the alleyway.
And if I could respond to that with some argument, Board Member Penn. The sides of the alley, and I'll go back down to page 12 so we can see the sides of the alley on Welland Street and then the side here on 4th Street. Those act as entrances and exits for the benefit of all of the Welland Street properties and these North 5th Street properties. Those stairs onto North Lawrence Street can also act for the benefit of the West Wellens and 5th Street properties, so that they, instead of exiting at Wellens or 4th and walking all the way around the block to Lawrence, they can simply walk up those stairs and get onto North Lawrence Street. It's not necessarily for the benefit of North Lawrence being able to take a shortcut through the alley. It's for the benefit of the properties whose deeds mention that they have access to that alley so that they can have 3 points of egress from the alley.
Anything else, Ms. Penn? Oh, you muted, Ms. Penn.
Sorry, my apologies. I understand your argument, Mr. Cohen. I understand your argument. Thank you very much. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Okay, any board members have any further questions before we go to the
Mr.
property
Cohen.
owners?
Yes, I do. Mr. Cohen, did I happen to see in one of the photos that a part of that retaining wall had fell over into one of the neighbors' property? Is that?
Yes, and we can see that here on page 5 in the packet. It has, in the photograph, it has collapsed slightly over the 3-foot wide alleyway and onto one of the neighboring yards. But as you can see in the photographs, for instance, on page 9, that section of the wall has been removed and the fencing on the opposite side appears to have been replaced.
Okay, thank you. I see it.
Okay, thank you. Now, what I'd like to do, again, I will, the list that we made earlier, I will call on those homeowners to ask any questions that they may have. Okay, so we will request that they be unmuted. If you can do it yourself, please unmute yourself. I'll start with 404 West Wellens. As to say, Rubus, that family present?
Yes, present.
Okay, ma'am, let me, if you're going to be on the record, I need to swear you in. Can you give us a video so we can see you? Okay, are you the owner of this property?
I'm the daughter of the owner.
Okay, and who, is she present? Is Bubas present?
No.
Okay, well, then in this instance, do you live in it? What is your name, ma'am?
Amal Busal
Would
and
you spell
Sophia
that, please?
Bobsis. That's his daughter and his wife.
Okay, would you spell that, please?
AMAL BOUSSALH.
Okay, is your name on the deed to the property?
No.
Okay, only the person who's on the deed can speak in this case, okay? Or the
He's
lawyer
not.
representing them.
Okay, he's not here.
Okay, I'm sorry then. We'll just have to move on to the next person. So Saeed is not present. Okay. All right. What about Matthew King? 428 West Welland.
Oh, I'm here. Yes.
Mr. King, We can barely see you. Is there, you be light in that area where you're sitting?
I'm at my job and this is the best lighting I have. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, do you have any questions of the city's streets department? I'm sorry, L9's supervisor.
Yes, when the statement was sent out, my name was not on the deed. And I'm just trying to figure out how does that apply to me at this moment?
Do you own the property now?
I do.
Well, that means that you're responsible.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. What about 432 West Wellens, Dolores Hernandez Foster?
Yes.
Okay.
My mother is here, and my mother's close to 80 years old, and I am a resident here. I'm her son, Brian McDonald.
All right, but Miss what? Just before you, just one, Miss Foster, is she Dolores Hernandez Foster?
Yes.
Okay, I'll need to have you raise your right hand so you can be sworn for the record. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today be the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, now, are you asking that your son ask questions on your behalf?
Yes.
Okay, sir, give us your name and we'll have to swear you in.
My name is Brian McDonald.
Okay.
I live at 432 West Welland Street.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you will give would be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What questions do you have, sir?
One of the things that wasn't addressed is that is the new fire hydrant, and it has been continually eroding that area, and the water department is not involved or has not been investigated.
Okay, all righty. Okay, all right. Now, how close is that fire hydrant to your residence?
It's right there. So it's where the cars were parking. It's right.
Okay.
It's
Has
where
anyone?
it's where it collapsed.
Okay, has anyone called the water department or the fire or the city?
We thought that the LNI was doing that as part of their investigation.
Okay, I don't know if they've done that, but it would be good for the residents also, if you believe that's contributing to the undermining of that wall, for you to call the water department and fire department regarding that fire hydrant. Okay, thank you. Do we have a Wilder Torres at 436?
Right here.
My apologies. Raise your right hand, ma'am.
A Wilder Torres.
Yes. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have any questions?
I just have a question. There's another side, the side on the other side where they say on Lawrence Street, 5212. There was, I don't think there was a picture taken of that property. There's a retaining wall also there.
Okay,
And
but if that wall is not cited in your case, it wouldn't be part of this presentation. It may be part of a different case.
I understand, but it's connected to the same and it's cracking also.
Okay.
But there's a house, 5212 is on it.
Okay, and what I'm saying to you, 5212 may have received a violation notice, but it isn't part of this case, so that's why they aren't.
Okay, so the wall connected all the way down towards our alley, that was connected to the construction company, which is located on Lawrence, but the property is there.
Yes, okay, but it doesn't affect you and your address.
It's affecting all of us, you're stating, from all the way down to us.
Okay.
Or they're just picking and picking. So if these property, if that's
okay, I'll need you to ask a question because I'm not quite clear on what you're attempting to say. What is the question that
okay, so let it, can we go through our insurance company?
You'd have to call your insurance company. I don't know.
Okay, because I read my deed and at no time did it say that I was responsible for that wall.
Okay, all right, thank you. I want to get everybody's questions on the record, then we maybe go through some general statements. Okay, all righty. Mr. Percy George, 438 West Welland Street.
Yes. My conversations are with the young lady that just spoke. I had the same question she had. I'm Percy St. George.
Can we get your image, sir? Can you put your image up? Can we see you?
We're having issues with the camera, but we're having issues with the camera.
Issues with the camera.
Looks like the camera's showing your ceiling. Is it a question of whether your computer is is focused on your face or faces?
No, I don't know.
There should be a slider on the laptop. Slide your finger over where the camera would be.
Right here. I have a touchscreen laptop, so that's not working. And I didn't want him to miss, I'm his daughter. I didn't want him to miss the meeting because we couldn't get the camera to work. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's do this for the record. Mr. Percy St. George?
Yes.
We need you to raise your right hand and swear or affirm that the testimony that you give today be the truth to help you God.
I so help me God.
Okay, Mr. St. George, you're the property owner via the deed?
Of 438 West Welland, yes.
Okay, now do you have a question of the supervisor, Rabakowski?
No, I agree with what the young lady just spoke on as far as the other wall is concerned. So there's no comment from me.
Okay, we're going to focus strictly on the walls that have been cited in the violation notice, not any other walls, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just for clarity, because now two people have mentioned this wall on Lawrence Street, and another person who's on the screen has been nodding her head vigorously. I would like, if Mr. Cohen doesn't mind, if he just puts up on the screen again the survey, and we can look and see where this wall is. Is it on the survey, that the wall that they're referring to?
I believe, is this the portion of wall here abutting 5212 North Lawrence Street? Is that what you're discussing?
I don't know.
I think Miss Torres raised that issue. Miss Torres, is that one that we?
Yes, that's correct. There's a property
That
on
wall,
top of
yes.
that wall.
Yes.
Okay, and what the survey shows is that responsibility for that wall are the Welland Street properties. 5212, according to this report, is not responsible for that wall. Okay.
Well, I think it behooves us to be clear, though, on the record that
Sure.
the issues and the violations, as you have said, Board Chair Woodson, the issues and the violations here are for this small portion in the red that has fallen over and collapsed. Because we're not dealing with any other portions of the wall or making any determinations or voicing any opinions on the structural stability of any other portions of the wall.
Okay. The violations are narrowly focused on that red portion in red.
Precisely.
But in terms of financial responsibility, it extends to everyone whose properties are responsible for.
And if I may, Mr. Cohen, one of the witnesses did say that they looked at their deed. Of course, they're not attorneys and experienced at this, and saw nothing which references the alley. But as you may know, frequently it may or may not be in the deed, the current or present deed to the present owner, but historically an easement or covenant could have been listed in a prior document. And I'm presuming, based on your statements to us and the reference document that you referred to from the Streets Department, that the research was done that shows or confirms the alleyway indeed is a part of the property's responsibility on Welland Street.
Yes, and actually, if I can go down to here for just a second, the physical 3-foot wide alleyway that communicates with the second alleyway, as an offer of proof, I looked at several of the deeds, not all, but several on the West Wellands and North 5th Street sides, and they did mention the alleyway specifically, 3-foot wide alleyway communicating, et cetera, et cetera. But they didn't use language about the retaining wall because the responsibility for the retaining wall comes not from the deed itself, but from the law here, that anyone having the use or actually using such alley are pertinent to a retaining wall. So it's the deeds showing the use of the alley. That's what triggers the responsibility under the law.
Okay, now the final person I'm going to call on is Daniel Veron and Yvonne Mascarera.
Yes, that's correct. This is me, Yvonne, and
Okay.
Mascara, and my husband is there, but I would like to talk
Okay, so
Um,
if you're gonna speak, first of all, let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give now will be the truth so help you God?
yes, good.
Okay, what is your question, ma'am?
Yes, with all due respect to everyone, I think the determination of responsibility was based on who benefits from the alley, but nobody has talked about who benefits from the wall. The wall is a retaining wall. That means it's a structure, means it's the structure of Willings Street. So
Okay.
Willings Street should have responsibility, and also the other properties who benefit from the retaining wall, because it does structures collapse. I don't want to pay for repair the house of who benefits for the wall.
Okay, now, a couple things. One, do you have any questions of Supervisor Rabakowski? Because we're asking for questions based on his testimony.
So I don't have a question directly to him, but as I am.
Okay,
I am
well, no, just for a moment. You want to ask you, if you don't have any questions of Mr. Rabakowski, what we will then do in a few moments, we will allow the responsible individuals to share any general statements they have regarding the wall.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, I understand. So no question, just objection, and I have my reasons.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
would love to be here.
Okay. We will get to that in a
Thank
moment.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Alrighty. So that's the list of individual property owners who are here today and who responded early when the case was called. Is anyone else who is a property owner who we have not called upon?
Yes, this is Ray Tran. I just want to say I am present, and I currently don't have any questions right now. Other folks have already either asked the questions or have already, mentioned some points that I have in mind.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Tran, are you the owner or is there a corporate owner of that property?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that one more time?
Actually, board member, if I may, as an offer
Yeah.
of proof, I believe Raymond Tran is the deeded owner of 5237 North Fifth Street.
Okay,
I believe.
thank you. That answers my question. Okay, thank you. Now, what I'd like to do now, because there are no attorneys representing any of the homeowners, I have a general question to ask before we go into final arguments. Have the neighbors at all organized around this, or have you guys come together collectively to determine how you can respond as a group, or are you all of you operating individually? Anyone want to respond to that? If you're muted, you can unmute yourself and respond.
No, we haven't get together yet.
Okay. Okay, I will make a general statement. Based on the law as it has been presented to us today, and as we have interpreted the law in the past, collectively, everyone who is responsible for the wall is responsible for whatever repair is required for the wall. I would recommend that all of you get together and talk and determine how best to approach a solution, whether your homeowner policies will contribute to repairing it, or whether you can all get together, hire someone, engineer and a contractor to do the work. I'm not sure how you would do that. And or talk to your elected official. There may be some support that your city council person can provide. But the repair costs for the wall will be shared among all the responsible parties, not just one house. That's how the law currently is interpreted. Now, what I will do now, I will ask Mr. Cohen to give us I guess, closing in some ways. And then I would open it up to any of the homeowners who have a general statement to make. Again, I would ask if you would not repeat someone else's statement, because we only need it once on the record. And then we will have an executive session of the board before we make any kind of vote. We need to deliberate a bit. Mr. Cohen?
Thank you. Actually, before I begin closing, the city would move into evidence exhibits V1 through V7, the 7 exhibits that are in its violations packet.
Okay, so move.
And the city again reserves the right that there are exhibits in its procedural packet that it sent out that deal with procedural issues. We reserve the right to raise those, but we won't deal with that here. To address the closing arguments, I believe actually the chair has addressed these sufficiently by stating what the law says and dealing with the narrow points of law that are issued before this board. I would only add to that there are points of law that are not before this board that the owners of these properties may wish to address with private counsel. For example, 5212 North Lawrence Street, this specific law and these specific questions before the board do not assign responsibility to that property, but that does not mean that there are not remedies available. I think the owners of these properties can talk to their own private attorneys and see what claims that they may have separate and apart from what the board is doing here today. But on this very narrow issue of what this law, the act of July 11th, 1927, what it says about responsibility, it is very clear the owners who have use of that alleyway in their deeds are responsible under this specific law for maintaining that retaining wall. And of course, the board understands this. I just wish to reemphasize it for the record and for the appellants who are here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any of the homeowners have any general statements they'd like to make before the board takes a break to deliberate? I know Ms. Rodriguez had a comment. Your hand is up. Unmute yourself, ma'am, if you'd like to speak.
Thank you so much. Yes, as I will say it again, is the determination is based on who benefits from the alley, but nobody says who's the owner of the wall, who benefits from the wall. I think North Lawrence Street benefits from the wall because it's retaining the soil of Lawrence Street. Also, the same wall is retaining the soils of the properties on 5212. Also, the same wall is retaining the soil of the properties 5217 and 23. So I know we benefit from the alley, but who benefits from those walls? What happens if those walls collapse? What happens if the properties on the wall collapse? Are the owners of Williams Street had to pay for the damage of the properties all along that retaining wall that benefit from that wall? Because remember, the retaining wall is a structure. Lawrence Street is a civil structure. And the engineers that designed that street, they had to calculate the dimensions and design of that wall. So this is a bad calculation. They didn't, expect in the future what were the problems. There was a neglection of proper maintenance of the structure.
Okay.
The retaining wall is a structure. So
Okay,
I
understood.
understand the alley. If there is a hole on the floor in the alley and it's dangerous if you are going, running for an emergency, there's a hole, I have to fix that hole on the
Ma'am,
floor.
if you speak a little bit slower, because
I'm
the
sorry.
court reporter is attempting to report you.
I'm sorry. So, I mean, I know we benefit from the alley, but who's benefiting from the wall? Who's the owner of the wall? That wall? It's a structure.
According to the law, and then this is why you need to speak with your own attorney and or your homeowner's insurance. The person on Welland Street are responsible for the wall, according to the law as we now understand. You make an interesting argument. It may or may not be legally take precedent, but that's your right to do that. So I'm just suggesting to you, the board wants to hear all the information that we now have. Unless you have do you have any expert witness you'd like to put on today, or someone who has engineer who would like to argue on your behalf, or a lawyer who would like to argue on your behalf today?
What I'm seeing, we are responsible even from the houses, they collapse and go through the alley, we had to repair. That's my questions. I think that I object the information. With all due respect, I'm sorry.
No. What I'm saying to you though, that each of you submitted an appeal. And so when you appeal, then it becomes your responsibility to submit whatever documents that you have or can acquire to make your point. That's what you're responsible for doing. Okay.
I made my point. I present plans, I present photographies, and I present a cross-section diagram of a retaining wall and what's going on there.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, are you an engineer or an architect?
I am an architect.
You're an architect?
Yes,
you
sir.
Are?
Yes, sir.
Licensed to practice in Pennsylvania?
I am not licensed yet. I had to stop my career for 5 years, but I graduated from Drexel University. And I am associated to the American Institute of Architects. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, it's important reason I'm asking, because if you have information that you want to present, this was the time to bring it in and submit it.
Yes, I have it here in my screen to share, but I submit when I made the appeal, I submit those plans and diagrams, aerial views, photographs, and my arguments. So English is not my first language, but I hope I made my point.
Yeah, you made your point. And the issue is that we understand. Okay, does
Thank you,
anyone
sir.
else have a
Thank you.
general statement they want to make?
I am the husband of my wife, and I want to
Your
object.
name, please? Sir, you have to give us your name.
Daniel Baron from the
Yes.
property. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Barone, what I'm
Yeah.
attempting to do is give each property owner an opportunity.
Okay.
Since your wife has already spoken, I'd like to go to someone else,
Okay. Okay.
and then we can come back to you if we can.
Okay.
But is it any other property owner who would like to have a general statement regarding the city's argument and the circumstance?
It's possible. Can I say something?
Your name, identify your name so the reporter can
This
know.
is Matthew King of 428.
Yes.
What I would like to say is the argument that was presented today was making it sound like the wall just fell just because, but that's not the case. There was people trying to move and they put stuff on the wall which made it fall. So it wasn't just like the wall is just a safe hazard. It's just the fact that it was negligence between prior people who were in the area. They don't even live there anymore.
Okay.
Chair, excuse me, this is the court reporter. I do not believe Mr. King has been sworn.
Oh.
Oh, I thought I had sworn him in. I'll do it. Okay. Mr. King, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. King, you may be accurate in terms of what occurred in the past, but unless do you have any record of that, any photographs, any how heavy whatever was put on, did someone run into the wall? I mean, all those things become important.
I can look through my security camera and see if I can find it. Only thing, I don't have no pictures of the actual date though, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. If there are any other homeowners, Mr. Barone, I will let you to have the final comment before we go into deliberations.
No, I just wanted to say like the point of egress to the 3 stairs. When you go through, you cannot even go through the street because all these cars, which I don't know if it's a parking lot or whatever, they block the exit.
Okay.
But I want to put very clear, 99% of the people there is low income people. All ladies like this lady, like Dolores, and are very low income people. It was very difficult to hire a lawyer or whatever, $500 lawyer or whatever, when we're talking about 99% of the poverty line, and the crime rate there is, well, astronomical. So we're talking about one of the worst areas in the city also, and also very poor people. That's what I'm saying. So it's not $500 lawyers, you know.
Sure. You may not have heard my earlier comment.
Yes.
My earlier comment was that I would recommend that the homeowners, Welland Street, North 5th Street, organize themselves or seek advice from a local community group or your elected officials. And those who are not able to afford attorneys, community legal service, or other legal services that are available to low-income families. The Bar Association provides lawyers that do pro bono work, etc. So it's incumbent upon the homeowners, the residents, to all of you to collectively decide how best to approach this issue. And today is the day that the appeals are being heard based on your desire to appeal the violations. Okay, that's what we're doing today. We will go off the record. It's now 2:40. We will return at by 5:03. The board has to go into deliberations to consider all the what has been said. We will not vote. Everything we will do will be done in public, but we do want to go into executive session for about 5 minutes. Thank you. So, Mrs. Block, the board has taken an opportunity to review the testimony of all individuals as well as the facts presented by Mr. Cohen and the circumstances submitted by the appellants. And so we're prepared now to render a decision. Is there any reason why we can't? And this is not our usual practice, but I just want to give one more chance. Anyone who has a particular reason why we shouldn't put a decision on the record at this point. Okay, you have the ability to unmute yourself if you want to unmute and state your reason. Okay, if there's no reason stated by anyone, we will then proceed. Because the list of cases are so long, we generally, Mr. Wade, what I'd like you to do is to, again, read the last four digits and the address of each matter, and then we will vote as a block and the decision will affect all of them. Cohen, you made reference early on, though, there were some issues of timeliness and some issues of standing.
Yes.
Do we need to address any of that before we proceed to vote?
No, the city just reserves those issues if necessary for a later date.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Wade?
Number 7, hearing appeal number ending in 5664, 402 West Wellens, Donald Kohler.
Yeah, if you read all of them, and then we'll vote at the end.
Oh, okay. And I can confirm if there's a response that service was made on all these.
Okay.
Okay. Case number 8, hearing appeal ending in 5437, 404 West Wellens, Saad Bobus. Case number 9, hearing appeal ending in 0331, 416 West Wellens, Anchor Realty, NE. Case number 10, hearing appeal ending in 5656, 428 West Wellens, Matthew King. Case number 11, hearing appeal number ending in 5423, 432 West Wellens, Dolores Hernandez Foster. Case 12, hearing appeal ending in 5342, 436 West Wellens, Awalda Torres. Case 13, hearing appeal ending in 5424, 438 West Wellens, Percy St. George. Case 14, hearing appeal ending 5519, 440 West Wellens, Stiglat Bornstein. Case 15, hearing appeal ending in 5517, 444 West Wellens, Stiglat Bornstein. Case 16, hearing appeal ending in 1401, 442 West Wellens, Drew DeMarco. Case 17, hearing appeal ending in 0465, 446 West Wellens, Daniel Varon and Ivan Moscara. Case 18, hearing appeal ending in 5486, 448 West Wellens, Mon Rang. Case number 19, hearing appeal ending in 5536, 5237 North Fish Street, Raymond Train.
Okay, thank you very much. With regard to the aforementioned cases, that by reference 12 cases altogether, the vote of the board, the city affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement. I would invite the board to join me.
City affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Now, I will explain to all of you what that means. Essentially, we, by code and by statute, we're required to defer to the city's right if in fact they've done everything they're required to do to issue and write a violation notice. Based on what's been presented to us, the city has met its burden to write a violation notice, therefore we voted city affirmed. Secondly, we do know and we respect the fact that wall cases are really complicated, they can be really expensive, and requires that the neighbors work together as a group to get support and resources to make the repair. So we require the city not take any additional enforcement action for at least 120 days to give you an opportunity to organize together, to pull your resources together, or to make your arguments if you choose to appeal this decision to common pleas court, where you would seek a judge's decision in terms of whether other parties should be brought into this or not. But that's a judge's decision. That would also require you to seek legal counsel, either through community legal services or some other legal counsel that will be available to you to represent your interests. So that's why we've asked the city not to take any additional enforcement action for 120 days. Okay, I just wanted to explain to you what that represents. And again, this is unprecedented, but I will entertain any general questions you have on our decision at this point before we end today's hearing. You can unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like.
Actually, members of the board, I'd like to add something.
Yes.
I did put in the chat the link, the website for the Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation. They do offer some home assistance programs. I'm not sure if those programs would cover this specific instance, but it's a good place to start. Another good place to start might be by contacting your council member, which I think for the 8th district is Cindy Bass.
Bass.
Your council, Bass, sorry. Your council member may be, or their office may be a good resource to start for looking for financial assistance for these repairs.
Okay. Any other general comments before we close today's hearing?
I just want to, Mr. Cohen, you said you put that in the chat or you're going to?
It is.
I did put that in
There.
the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, as I mentioned to my colleagues on the board, I did see an article in the paper in which the city budget for the next year is supposed to include some money set aside for repair of retaining walls. You may, again, another reason to contact your council person, Cindy Bass, and find out if in fact it was approved, if there is money in the budget, and how you can make application to obtain some of those funds to repair the wall. And as the chairman has mentioned, you may have some rights against those neighbors on the other side of the wall, but that's something you have to look into and do some research and perhaps seek legal counsel for, which we understand is an expense.
Thank you very much. If there are no other comments or questions, we will now call this matter to a close. And the board itself, Mr. Wade, is this our last matter for today?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we will end today's hearings. Thank you very much for your participation and your cooperation. Thank you. Have a good evening.